Now let's begin with an application which implements single page application, and in sections we will try to improvise the application and explore various features in detail. To make a single page application, as discussed in the previous section, we need to install the React router. So let's create a project first. I will say npx create-react-app SPA. SPA is just the project name. So now I'm going to fast forward this thing, as otherwise it will take time. Now the project is created. Let's move to the SPA folder and install React Router DOM. Yes, this is the package we need to install to work with React Router. Now I will say npm install React Router DOM --save. Now this is also installed. So now we are ready with the project. So let's begin with the single page application. In this application, we are going to remove the predefined code. So first of all, I will do that. I'm going to remove even the header, which I don't want. I also do not want these logo or CSS files. I have created a components folder. Let's just go through what it has. It has 3 components: the about, home and products. If you see all the components, there is nothing much in it. It's just that I am displaying about component, the home component, that is home page, and the product component. So there are 3 components we have taken just for the reference, and I just want to use these 3 components here. So I will say import. The first component I want is, let's say, home. From components, we have the home component. Let me just copy and paste this. The second component is about, and the third component is products. I'm also going to put these 3 components. I will say, for example, home, then we will have the about and products. Alright, let me just see the output. So here is the application where we have the home, about and the product component. Imagine that you want to put a menu here. This particular application we want to make an SPA, so there will be menu. Generally we see that whenever we have to put the menu, we use the unordered list. Inside that we have the li tag, in which we have anchor tag. We won't be using anchor tag for router. There is another component, that is the link component provided by the React router. But at the moment we will live with this traditional way, then we will convert it into the single page application, that is the router based application. So here I am going to say href. I will put some route here which will have, for example, home. Let me also copy this and paste it 2 more times. We have, let's say, about and we have products. Now if I just save this and if you look at the output, we have the home, about and products. Certainly I can configure these components so that when I click on the home, it should display only the home page. When I click on the about, it should display the about component, and for products, it should display the product component. You also need to observe that whenever I click on any of these links, this refresh button, this title also, you will see there is a great refresh happening. So whenever there is a click, it refreshes the entire page. When we convert this particular page into a single page application with React router, this won't happen. You will be able to compare the smooth transition. That is, when I click on home or maybe about, you would not see this refresh icon getting refreshed. You see this? When I click products, this icon is also refreshed. There is a cross coming, and then there is a refresh icon. Keep this point in your mind, as when we convert the SPA, you will be able to compare this particular behavior. So here when you see the application, home, about, products, all the components or pages are getting displayed. But we don't want that. What we want is when we click on the individual items, it should load the specific component. So for that, I will go to the anchor tag and say home here. Here I am going to say about, and here I will say product. So these are the three different routes we want to define. Because the single page application needs router, the first thing we are going to do is we are going to import the route from the React Router DOM. This is the first thing you have to do. In fact, before this, you have to make sure that you also import one more component in index.js, or you can put it in app.js also, but it's a high order component. This component is the browser router component, and this is the topmost component for the entire application when you make the single page application. So I will say browser router from React Router DOM, and here I'm going to cover the entire app inside the browser router. So this is the high order component which takes the entire application in it. It becomes a wrapper. As we deal with more options, you will get a better idea about all these things. So once this browser router contains the entire application, we go back to the app.js. I have already imported route. Now I need to define the route. So now I will say route. There is an attribute called path where you define which path you are configuring. So this is going to be, let's say, home router. So I will say home route. And the home component. Okay, let me just copy this because this we will need 3 times. In fact, 2 more times. So the home component we have, we will shift in this route, the first route. Then we have the about route. This we put in the second route, and here the third route is products where we put the product component. And of course, I am going to change the path for each and every route. So for this route, I will say about and the products route. Now let's save this and go back to the output to check what happens. You see that if I just open the root route, no component is getting displayed. If I click on the home, it displays the home page, and about displays about and the product. There is one more problem here. As I mentioned, the refreshing the page is not yet gone. How do we make sure that it works absolutely smoothly? For that, we do not use the anchor tag. Instead, we use one more component called link, which is provided by the React Router. So instead of anchor, I am going to say link, and that does not have href. It has 2 attribute. So I am going to use the 2 attribute everywhere first of all, and instead of anchor, I will say link. Same applies here as well. Now let me just save this, go back to the output. I will refresh. Now I click here. You see this? There is no refresh here. About component, products component. So this application right now is at a level where you can understand the basic mechanism of React Router and the basic mechanism of single page application. We are using the browser router, the route, and the link component for the basic configuration of router. Now let's go back to the code. Once again, you can see that we have just imported the browser router, the route, and the link tag. We are able to achieve the single page application. The components which you see right now are the very basic components. They do not have any detailed coding, but it may have detailed coding, and that gets loaded in the same way. There are many more options as we proceed. We are going to explore most of the options of the React Router, but at least you get some idea by looking at this application, how we deal with the React Router to make a single page application. Now let's talk about relative questions. There is only one question, and that is, how do you implement single page application? It's a general question when somebody wants to ask you, what do you know about single page application? So when it comes to answering this question, I have seen people not mentioning router. Do make sure that whenever there is a question about SPA, you must mention the router. Router, whether you are using in Angular or React, do mention it. You can brief that, like for React Router, you can say that you install React Router DOM. Of React Router package, you use the browser router component which holds the entire application, and use the route package to configure the routes. The link or nav link is used in the menu to show the links. We have not yet seen nav link and even link in details, but this is how you can answer this question. There is a lot, and once you are done with this entire section, this answer can be fine-tuned further, but do mention React Router, the router package, browser router, link and nav link. All these things is a general answer to single page application question.